Hello guys, welcome to the channel. It's TPM5 with another NBA video. In this one, I'm going to be previewing the NBA Finals between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics. I'm going to talk a bit about the Warriors, then give you my thoughts on the Celtics for this NBA Finals series, and then predict the outcome at the end of the video. So, without further ado, let's get started. As you guys know, the three-seeded Warriors got past the Dallas Mavericks in 5 games to return to the NBA Finals for the 6th time in 8 years. A really crazy run given their absence these last couple of seasons. Now, the Warriors were led by their, two-time MVP Steph Curry, always leading them, 24 points, 7 assists, shooting the ball great as per usual at 44% from the field and from 3. Andrew Wiggins was really good as well, alongside Klay Thompson, with both of them averaging 18.5 points. Jordan Poole really stepped up again, averaging 16 points, really giving them another option on offense. And Draymond Green was great, the jack of all trades, averaging 10.5 points, 6 assists, and also 6 rebounds. Now, before I continue, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. And also, don't forget to like the video, it helps me out with the algorithm. I'm just going to keep it a buck with you guys. And also, comment who you think will win this series, and I'll try and reply to or react to all of your comments. But let's continue with the video. Kevon Looney was, continues to be an impressive surprise these playoffs, averaging 10.5 points and also 10.5 rebounds as well. And then guys like Otto Porter, Kuminga, Moody, Bjelica, Lee, and Toscano Anderson played sporadic minutes throughout the series, with Porter Jr. and Kuminga playing the biggest roles of the bunch. Now, when you look at the Warriors, I guess part of their blueprint, over their dynasty, if you could call it that, has been their ability to shoot threes, and obviously their screen, their pick and roll type offense, where they really get the shooters open. However, their ability to score in the paint was impressive, especially against Memphis, but also against Dallas, repeating the trend. Just giving you guys casting your minds back to round 2 against Memphis. Memphis led the league in both points in the paint and second chance points. However, in the second round, the Warriors beat them in both categories, with a significant differential in points in paint, beating them by 3.4, and a slight differential in their favor for second chance points at 0.8. So a very different way the Warriors are getting it done. However, it does make them way more difficult to guard, as their offense has spearheaded the NBA out of all teams that have played in the playoffs. They're first in the league in terms of offensive rating. And then defensively, another area where over the years of their dynasty, they weren't exactly the strongest in the league for. They're also 6th in out of all teams that have played a playoffs game. So obviously very elite on both ends of the floor. Now, Gary Payton and Andre Iguodala should make their return at some point during the series, alongside Otto Porter Jr., who was just out day to day and was evaluated today. Another thing I was impressed with the Warriors was their ability on defense to kind of hide Curry and Klay to an extent. Klay's obviously coming off his injury, but they were able to hide them and get them into favorable situations when they were when the Mavs were trying to isolate them and get Luka onto switches with them. And that's something they're going to need to continue to work with against Tatum and Brown. And then offensively, they were really good with their screens, and they're getting the shooters the opportunities. And then also Kevon Looney was obviously more of a scorer in that series, and Draymond Green had obviously his ability to get in and make the right decision to pass it out, hold up, or even go up with the shot as well. Those Warriors are very impressive, and they are going to be hard to beat. But as you guys can see by the footage, I'm going to talk about Boston now for the second part of the video. So the Boston Celtics are coming off of a win against the Miami Heat in a series where they did trail twice, and it is a bit of a recurring trend for them where they do end up trailing early in the series and they come back, and it does show a bit of resilience. It is all about what Ime Udoka has put into this team, as he spearheaded their defense, an area which was of large concern at the trade deadline, and which is why they got Derek White in. But, Ime Udoka's done a great job with the team as a whole, but especially on defense, as their 104.9 defensive rating as of the recording of the video leaves them second out of all teams who have played in the playoffs. And on offense, that wasn't necessarily a complete issue for them, but they're actually slightly worse, which is surprising when you think about it, given that the offense has been their strong suit over the last few years with this Tatum era, as they're 7th out of all teams that have played in the playoffs so far in offensive rating. So Jalen Brown It was really important for the Boston Celtics, averaging around 25.5 points, bringing down nearly 8 rebounds per contest, shooting the ball at a scorching 44% from 3 and 48% from the field. Jason Tatum had some really great games, but also some poor games, including a 10-point outing lowered his average. He was at around 24 points, 6 assists, and also 8 rebounds, turning the ball over 5 times per game, but that's as you would expect for the focal point of an offense and also a rather inexperienced player. Coming up against that stifling Miami Heat defense, we can give him a pass for that for sure. Shooting 43% from the field and 27% from three. Marcus Smart, was showing a lot more on offense than a lot of people were expecting, averaging around 15 points and 8 assists per game, including a 22-point and 14 assist outing, if I'm not mistaken. Al Horford was great, not as good as that standout game he had against the Milwaukee Bucks, but he was averaging around 13 points and 9 rebounds. And then Robert Williams was a very impactful player defensively, averaging 2.5 blocks. And then Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, and Grant Williams rounded out the kind of bench unit that saw significant minutes. Now, Sam Hauser was out against the Miami Heat, so he'll be back if he's required. And then Marcus Smart was struggling with his ankle, so that's something to look out for. And also for Robert Williams, who was having issues with his knee. Those two guys are very important. It's worth seeing and paying attention to their health in those regards. Speaking of Robert Williams, he's a very important player for the Celtics, and I think that if he plays, he will limit the amount of dominance the Warriors have had during the playoffs and will have against the Boston Celtics. Obviously, it still is a factor, and the Celtics should definitely pay attention to the trends that I outlined earlier in the video. But then also for the Warriors, they need to find ways to almost hide Curry and just make sure the mismatches aren't exposed too much, just because Tatum can catch fire and really have impacts, and same with Jalen Brown, who was, again, like I mentioned, shooting 44% from 3, which is just amazing on high volume. Despite the Boston Celtics' great defense, I just think the Warriors' experience on offense and just experience in general will be enough to get them over the line in 5 games. So, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment who you think will win. And thank you guys. Enjoy the series and peace out.